let's move on to our next topic, shall we? Wish we go. Okay. Next, okay.
Just do it.
I've hinted at it. I want to rip off the Band-Aid. Guys, I saw Matrix Resurrections today.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had time to fully process it. Maybe I need another watching of it, but I don't want to see it again.
Wow.
So you guys know I'm a huge Matrix fan. Not just the first. I love Reloaded and Revolutions as well. Despite their flaws, I think they are really great. This one is a hard pill to swallow. Give me the blue
intended.
pill. Yeah, give me the blue pill. Okay, look. It's not all bad. It's not the worst film I've seen this year. You guys know what I think the worst film I've seen this year is. But everything I love about The Matrix, most of it is not seen here in this film. It's a huge swing and a miss, and I appreciate it for taking the big swings. But oh boy, do they miss in some of the parts. It's going to be hard to not spoil it too much, so I may have some light spoilers, but I won't spoil anything major. Okay, so the film is very easily broken up into three parts. The first part feels like it goes on for too long, which is getting Thomas Anderson Neo out of the Matrix. Now, admittedly, it starts with a really cool opening scene where Jesse Henwick's character, Bugs, is seeing the first scene of the first Matrix play out, but the people look different, and she's like, what's going on? It's old code, replaying old events, and they're like, what's going on? And they change it up just enough with some new elements. It's like, oh, okay, they're doing a little bit of Force Awakens stuff, but they're acknowledging that the previous events happened, and they're sort of redoing it. So it's like, okay, but then you move away from Bugs and you get to Keanu Reeves, and I'm gonna just rip the band off with a slight spoiler here, guys, but it'll help you understand everything that's kind of wrong with this movie. So Thomas Anderson is a video game developer who famously developed a trilogy of video games called The Matrix.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And those events, and the events of those movies was his video game. And it's kind of like, and then there's a scene where his boss sits him down and goes, look, Warner Brothers wants you to make a Matrix 4. And he's like, but I don't want to make a Matrix 4. That part of my life's behind me. He's like, yeah, maybe let's have a brainstorming session. We've done a focus group. Then he sits down in a focus group with a bunch of people, and they literally just go, what did people like about the first Matrix? Oh, we've got to have lots of bullet time. We've got to have people questioning reality. And they literally, it's just like, it's clearly the director, Lana Wachowski, just being like, oh, okay, this is how I'm going to deal with these fucking annoying executives at Warner Brothers. And they're just listing off everything you'd want in a Matrix sequel, and they're basically saying, we're not going to do this shit as much. And I think it's meant to be comedic, but it's not funny. Like, they are really, that's the big thing about this film. It's all about ripping off the Band-Aid. It's all about, like, ripping off the Band-Aid and just being super meta. And I haven't even scratched the surface yet, you guys.
Oh my God.
Can I just...
Yeah.
Wait. So are the Matrix movies just all retconned now because of this movie?
Well, no, because what happens is, without revealing too much, in the trailer you see he's seeing a therapist who's giving him blue pills all the time. This therapist is actually a program called The Analyst, who's like one of the new villains, and he's like a successor to the Architect, who designed the Matrix, and his goal is that this version of the Matrix, it runs off emotion and keeping people either hopeful or despair, especially Neo and Trinity, who they've rebuilt and using the one powers to run the Matrix. And so he is trying, and he's like, look, you tried to kill yourself at one point, and you just keep taking elements of your life and putting in this video game. So your reality, you're confusing reality and what's really happening. But what he doesn't know is that the Matrix movies did happen. They weren't a video game. But his therapist is just drugging him and telling him otherwise. And so his breaking out of the Matrix is him finally taking a red pill and then leaving that. So the first act of this film, it's really weird, dude. But like they do the good stuff of the Matrix by eventually they bring it into some other stuff and they're like, well, it's all about questioning reality and being controlled and the decision between the illusion of choice and free will versus fate. And they've got all these like big themes that the sequels had. And what they actually do good is, you know, in the sequels where they'll just pause the movie for 20 minutes and then have a philosophy session. Yeah. They'll have that, but it'll only last like 5 minutes. And while they have that, there'll be something going on. Like the analyst has this ability. He's like, I think he calls it like reverse bullet time, where he slows everybody down and he can do stuff. So he'll be like, a bullet will be coming towards someone while he's in his philosophical talk. And like, oh no, are they going to die or what? And like, he'll do stuff like that. So, yeah, but look, once you get out of that section of the fucking... And also, like, there's constant flashbacks to the footage. Like, they're constantly just trying to remind you, hey, remember this scene in The Matrix? Remember this scene in The Matrix? So that's kind of annoying. But look, once you get to the middle section of the film, if you're a Matrix fan, you'll love it. If you're not, you might get bored. But you go to the real world, and weirdly, the best stuff is when they're not in the Matrix. But they're in the real world, and they do this world building, and you see it actually takes place 60 years after the last two. And like you get to see how they've moved on and how the peace treaty went with the machines and all this new technology they have. There's a new human city, and they bring back a lot of the characters from the sequels in small roles. And so that got me really excited. Like they just pop up, and if you don't know who they are, it wouldn't ruin the story. But if you know them, that's pretty cool. So the middle section I really liked. I loved the world building and lore stuff in there. I don't want to ruin too much, but they bring back two previous characters, Morpheus and Agent Smith, but they're played by different actors. The explanation is a little disappointing to why they look different. But in particular, the guy who plays Smith, he's a good actor, but he's no Hugo Weaving. Like, his personality is so different, and he's so much younger, and he just seems so much less menacing. And it's like, dude, you're not... Like, you didn't have to be Smith. He could have been a completely other character. You could have just called him a different name. And he doesn't even have the same powers as the sequels, so it's kind of like, you didn't need to be here, dude. It kind of, like, it actually hurts the film more than that. And then the final act... I've seen a lot of people praise it, but I wasn't too impressed with it. I got two more notes I want to make of this film, though. One, a lot of this would be forgivable if it was like, oh, well, it's The Matrix. At least the action scenes are good, right?
They're not good?
The action...
No!
Look, it's okay. It's just... It's nowhere on the level as the others. Like, the original trilogy... So, I gotta say this. I have seen some people say this movie has no soul. I would say it's not that it doesn't have soul. It's just everyone who made it what it was didn't return. It's got a new composer, so the music does not sound much like the original score, which I'm very disappointed about. They lost one of their main producers, and they got some different actors, and they got a different cinematographer. And the biggest one is, with the original trilogy, the Wachowskis did not direct the action scenes. They flew people in from Hong Kong for that. In this...
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. And then this one, it's like Lana Wachowski directed it, and it's just like, it's really choppy. There's a lot of fast cuts. There aren't many long takes. Even Jessica Henwick, who did amazing martial arts in Iron Fist when no one else did good martial arts, she feels underutilized. In fact, her and Michelle Ali, they're very prominent in the first half of the film, and the second half, they don't do much after that. But yeah, I feel like the action was very disappointing. There was a lot more use of practical stuff than I expected, which is nice, but very disappointing action scenes, I would say, and not a lot of them. Like, maybe there's like 3 key action scenes with a few more here and there, but not a lot. And my last point is...
Is it a lot of talking?
Yeah, especially in the middle.
Okay.
But it's better. Like, they've improved the talking. But this goes into my final point, is that this film is way more emotional than the others, but not in a good way. Like, when you hear the film's emotional, I think, oh, it's like really sad or something. Like, no, like, in the others, like, they would talk like robots all the time. In this, like, Thomas Anderson, Neo, because he's going through like a lot of stress, he's always like really anxious and for a lot of it. And the core of this is a love story between Neo and Trinity. Like, he wants to rescue Trinity from the Matrix again. But in this, in my opinion, Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss have no chemistry. They're in these like romantic scenes and I'm not feeling the romance. And I feel that like, I feel like I'm going to get yelled at for this, but Keanu Reeves is not a strong actor. I think he's a really good physical actor. But like...
Or he's strong in like the right genre.
Yeah. Like,
it has to be like a specific...
He's great if he's playing like a stoic hero role, right? But in this, he's doing romance scenes, he's doing some comedy, doing anxious, and like the script does not work to Keanu Reeves' strengths, which is I think its biggest flaws. The other 3 kind of did. Like, he's good when he's like doesn't talk too much and he just reacts with a whoa every now and then. But this, it's like, no, and he's not the only one. Like, I feel like even Carrie-Anne Moss, it's not showing her best side either. I feel like the best people in this really is Jessica Henwick and Michelle Ali, but they don't have that much screen time compared to the others. And I guess you can maybe say, like, there are a few other good ones, but the guy who played Smith in this, he's so miscast. I'm not saying he's bad, just he's so miscast. He should not have been cast for that role. And also, guys, there is an end credit sequence. Oh, sorry, Neil Patrick Harris is pretty good. I like Neil Patrick Harris.
Okay.
But, like, guys, don't stay for the end credit sequence. It's just a cat joke, and it's not even funny. And you know what it is? It's like it's a cutback to the guys brainstorming about the video game, and they're just like, well, maybe it doesn't have to be a video game. Well, what do people like? People like cats. I know what it is. The cat tricks. And that's it. It's like, you took us...
No.
The post-credit scene is a bad joke that takes place during the worst part of the film, and... look, the Wachowskis were never good at comedy. They've always had this weird, awkward thing to it. But it's like... They did not play to their strengths.
I love bad puns, but
that was pretty bad.
That's actually bad.
Terrible.
That's...
It ends on a terrible cat-dad joke. Dad-cat joke. And, yeah, look, I only recommend it for hardcore Matrix fans. If you're just going for the action, you're not going to have a terribly great time. If you're going for nostalgia, this one actually beats you over the head. I've never seen nostalgia used so terribly before. Like, it's actually a plot point. They're like, oh, what's a better way to break you, reveal the truth to you than with a little nostalgia? Like, that's an actual line in the film.
Oh my god.
Here's the fucked up thing, though.
Okay, this is painful to listen to. I don't... Yeah.
Last thing I'll say is I'm a hardcore Matrix fan, so I probably will see it again. Now, I did like what they did with the lore. They brought in some new elements that I haven't covered yet, which I thought were really interesting. But, oh man, like, it... I know Lana Wachowski made this film during like a hard time of her life. Like, her parents died like 5 months apart from each other, and that's why her sister didn't return. So I'm sure this film was tough to make, but like the creative team wasn't there. It comes down to this problem that a lot of visionary directors have, where if they are unchecked and they're given unlimited freedom, eventually they start fucking up. Like
George Lucas.
George George Lucas is the biggest example of that. But like, I think that's what happened with the sequels. And here it's like, I feel like she thought she was giving people what they wanted, maybe, while also being rebellious. But it's like, if you wink at the camera too many times, it stops being a movie and it starts being a selfie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Look, let's move on.
I just got a couple things. Yeah. So number one, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I tried to suppress the memory of this film in my brain. But in Matrix Revolutions, doesn't Neo and Trinity die? Don't they die?
And that, and that is addressed, and that's actually one of the best things about this film. If you like the sequels, they don't technically retcon anything. They actually address every question I can think of that was left from the sequels is answered. You may not like the answers, but they do answer all of them. And they reveal it pretty late in the movie, but yeah, the reason why they're back is revealed.
Okay. And I was reading, because I know Hugo Weaving couldn't do the movie because he had scheduling conflicts with a bunch of other films. I still don't understand why they recast Morpheus. Like Lawrence, they didn't like they.
Do you want me to tell you why? It's a spoiler, but I'll tell you what.
So they actually address it in the.
I'm happy for it to be spoiled.
Yeah,
Are you happy, Jesse?
Care. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is actually a thing I find annoying about the film. It's technically not Morpheus. His name is Morpheus, but what he actually is. So first of all, one of the new elements is programs can be taken out of the Matrix now, and they come as like this weird nanobot thing. They look different outside, but basically what it is, he's a program programmed by Neo from his game, which is an amalgamation of personality traits from Morpheus and Smith, with his memories of them. And he's named Morpheus, but he actually isn't Morpheus. He's like Morpheus and Smith as one, but he's a program that can manifest himself in the real world, but he's a good guy. So
that just sounds insane.
Boy!
But I wish they could. But they could have called him another name. They could have called him Morpheus 2.0. But yeah, but Lawrence Fishburne is referenced. They tell you what happens to him after Revolutions.
Because he's the only one that didn't die, I think, wasn't he? I think he's the only one that didn't.
Pretty much. Well, what they actually do, the one thing they do retcon is the Matrix Online MMO game, which no one played. But in that, apparently his character died, and Lawrence Fishburne did voice that. But they kind of give him a more fitting death. There's a shrine to him at one point at the statue. They tell you what happened, but I don't know. Tell you how he died. I assumed it was old age, but maybe he died. No. He does get. I think he got killed, but like it's like off screen or something.
Oh, okay.
Like he's not in the movie, but like 60 years have passed. He's passed away.
What a strange way to write a sequel. Like,
yeah. Like I said, they take a lot of swings, and I appreciate them for taking some risks, but a lot of them really didn't
land.
Pull off.
They just missed the mark. Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere in me, there's an element of me that likes it, but I know it's not good. It's not actively terrible, I'll say, but it is a huge disappointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks.
Like even the music was disappointing. Oh my god! Here's how they end it. Right? They cut to credits.
Okay.
Right now, you might remember they usually would end on like a Rage Against the Machine song. And as a perfect metaphor for the whole movie, they cut to a terrible cover of Rage Against the Machine by a band called Brass Against the Machine, whose instruments are all...
What?
They replace all the... And in case you don't know Brass Against the Machine, they're a famous cover band with a female vocalist where they replace the guitars with brass instruments. And they very famously made headlines a couple months ago because the lead singer invited a fan on stage and she urinated on his face in front of a live audience. And that's the band that ends the movie. So, yeah.
What the hell?
You can look it up on YouTube. She's rapping Rage Against the Machine while peeing on a guy in front of a huge crowd. That's Brass Against the Machine.
Holy shit.
And the Matrix movie. And I said that to my mate, and he goes, well, isn't that a perfect metaphor for Matrix Resurrections?
Oh my god!
It's a bad...
He's got a good point.
It's just a bad retelling of the previous...
Wow.
Well, it's...
Wow.
Yeah. Whether that's intentional or unintentional, it is extremely fitting.
I said more spoilers than I was meant to, but...
Oh, well.
I'm glad
gives a
you
fuck?
did.
Yeah.
I feel like I just went on more of a roller coaster with that than I will the actual film.
Yeah.
So...
You know what's crazy?
No regrets.
Crazy part is...
Mm-hmm.
If they buy a sequel on their day one. If they do a sequel on their day one. I love The Matrix. But even... Yeah. Ultimately.